team to pull this out. All right. Mr. Vinay, Mr. David, can you come in? Can you come in front so that we can begin the session? All right. Good morning, everyone. Today, I welcome you on behalf of FICCI, SCPC, and FSWP here in the Dubai Expo at India Pavilion for Healthcare and Wellness Week. Before we begin the session, I will welcome Mr. Praveen Mittal, who's Senior Director for Health at FICCI, to give us a welcome remark, and then we will move to the session, Medical Value Travel Post-Pandemic Challenges and Opportunities. Mr. Mittal, please come. It's all because of him we are here, guys. Clap should be more than this.
So first of all, a very warm welcome on behalf of India Pavilion. I think this has been a long journey, 2018, when this was a piece of barren land and when we came here to put the entire pavilion together. And I think my colleague Ishan, who's been shouldering this along with me, has been a great support, I would say. So welcome to each one this morning for a very interesting session on medical value travel. Very close to all our hearts, because healthcare is an essential element for each of us. And I think it's time that we focus on, again, building up our linkages. I would warmly like to welcome the chairman for SCPC, Mr. Sunil Tahati ji. Thank you so much for coming. And I know these are tough times, but I think that's what life is. We all adapt ourselves. Once again, a very warm welcome on behalf of India Pavilion to each one of you. We have today presence of about 20 countries, around 50 delegates. I think that speaks volumes. We'll all continue with our discussion. So thank you so much once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking at Mr. Mittal with the mask, I must ask for permission that as a moderator, I might not be wearing a mask if you guys are all okay. Okay, so I am Mihir Vora, Secretary Domestic Alliances Foundation of Healthcare and Wellness Promotion in India. As I've already welcomed you, I would want to welcome the dignitaries for the session. Mr. Praveen Mittal, Senior Director and Head Health, FICCI, is a postgraduate in Management Studies from Institute of Management Studies, Ghaziabad. Was awarded Best Student Award during the program. He also holds Diploma in Human Resource Management. That's how he's pulling off this, pulling off this entire feat. Worked with various companies, and he's been with FICCI for 15 years. He's been extremely instrumental in building brand India for medical tourism through Advantage Healthcare. And, which is his baby. We all, most of the Indian delegates would be relating to this. And he's the person who gave idea to ministry for reverse biocellars meet in MBT, and he's been doing it successfully for the last 6 years. Thank you, Mr. Mittal, for coming this far with us. Because of you, we are here. Oh, he might be listening through. All right. The next is Mr. Sunil Talati. He's a chairman of SCPC, a professional chartered accountant. He served as a president of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, as a premier CA institute. He held several directorial positions in diverse industries, such as chairman of Expert Advisory Committee, Financial Report Review Board, Corporate and Allied Laws, Corporate Governance Committee, and vice chairman of Professional Development Committee. Most of that, I mean, for me, it is too many. And for many, it is too many. And he's currently practicing as chartered accountant, as senior partner in Talati and Talati Chartered Accountants, which is ranked among top 5 firms in Gujarat. Welcome, sir. The next that I would want to invite is Mr. David Boucher, Group Chief of Service Excellence, Esther Healthcare. Has over 4 decades of experience in areas of patient excellence and business transformation, providing both operational and strategic leadership in healthcare organizations across the globe. He has played an instrumental role in improving healthcare delivery through disruptive innovation, applied technology, proactive marketing, and patient-centric operations. David last served as Chief Business Transformation Officer at Bumrungrad International Hospital in Bangkok from 2018 to 2020. And prior to that, he has served as across C-level executive at various institutes. Welcome, sir. The next is Major Tom Lewis, who is CEO of Response Plus Medical, an Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange listed company, along with CEO of Special Projects of EPS Healthcare. He's over 30 years of experience in leadership, operations, management, and administrations. He's held various leadership positions in healthcare, project, FMCG, hospitality, and logistics. He's a motivational speaker and is passionate about the importance of training and change in the pursuit of excellence and success. Welcome, Mr. Major Tom. Next, I would want to invite Mr. Vinay Agarwal. Vinay Agarwal is a managing director and co-founder of Shinan Global and my dear friend. He's one of the biggest names in medical value travel in India. He's the person in the industry who makes everyone comfortable to talk. I am sure many would relate to this. He has every news of the industry. So I call him Gossip King. So, he has all the news that you want. Yeah, absolutely. And has built most respected MBT company in India and has over 2 decades of experience in healthcare marketing. They have 13 overseas offices, mainly focused in CIS, SEA, and Central Asia market. Once again, my dear friend, because he's also treasurer of our association, Foundation of Healthcare and Wellness Promotion. Sir, welcome. The only women in the this elite delegation, Miss Lydia Oile, founder and CEO at Lee Memorial Hospital, Uganda. She established this hospital like no other. She is not just a businesswoman, but a big-hearted and a visionary who has earned herself a nickname Mama. Mama means mother. She's also my mother. Uganda's biggest business awards, MTN Award, had recognized her as a businesswoman of the year Uganda twice, once from the Uganda Investment Authority, and over 3 decades of entrepreneurial journey to her, her experience. Welcome, Mama. The next one, last but not the least, Mr. Sandeep Vora, Chief Executive of Roseview Investment and Advisor, UAE, and representative for HTI UAE. Sandeep ji has over 20 years of experience in healthcare, travel, insurance sector, and has held senior positions in various Fortune 100 and Forbes 100 companies, and has been involved in several pioneering and innovative business initiatives. We've met once before this, and I can tell you he is very resourceful in terms of medical value travel. Welcome, sir. With the great dignitaries we here as we see, I'm going to ask them some questions to know their views on our topic today, which is medical value travel post-pandemic challenges and opportunities. Post my questions, I will, if the time permits, I will let the floor ask some questions to the dignitaries here. All right. So we have a super long day today and lot to do. And I've been given a job in the first half to give you a very important session, which might have pinched us in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. And many of the companies have changed their models, changed their business structure, business, perspective of the business at medical travel. Many would have struggled, including us. And let us see what it brings the next 5 years. And here we have the most expert people to talk about and gain the learning from them. So I will start with, again, Mr. Praveen Mittal. Sir, pandemic has been extremely challenging for all of us. And probably you too. I'm sure you've been as emotional as we are, because you know how MVT has grown over the years. What do you see MVT sector to be in the next 5 years?
So very warm welcome once again. Good morning. Very important, Mihir. I think for past 2 years, there's been a complete, you know, uh, zero business for a lot of our companies. And India as a country has not been able to service the foreign patients. These have been really tough times, not just about for the business community, but I think for healthcare, the response within the country has been overwhelming. The hospitals have been overloaded with patients, but we haven't been able to take care of because of the international travel restrictions. I think these have been really tough times. If I see a future for MVT next 5 years, I think the everybody, all of us, if we are meeting here in Dubai, talks volumes that we have come out of our own countries to meet at the third country and look at a possibility of collaboration, look for business opportunities for each one of us, and provide the much desired treatments to our patients. As a step in the right direction, yesterday, Government of India has released the medical value travel policy.
Oh, wow.
So there's been a
That's
policy
encouraging.
that has come yesterday.
Okay.
And it's a complete document which talks about, and that talks volumes in terms of how government is looking at this sector. So that has been released by Ministry of Tourism. I've gone through the entire draft. We've been a part, and even your organization, a lot of inputs that have gone in from the industry side. So I think we are all waiting now for the international travel restrictions to go so that people can start traveling. And that would be one of even FICCI's request to the Government of India, Ministry of Civil Aviation. Also in terms of our offer to the world, apart from the regular tertiary healthcare, I have two senior officers here from Ministry of Ayush, which is Ayurveda, promoting Ayurveda and wellness. And I think this is the most apt time that we're meeting here today during the health and wellness time. I think the future is very bright. We need to align ourselves, we need to work together and give that confidence from the India side to various countries who've come here to meet us. First of all, thank you for coming all the way and look for a very, let's go back from where we had left actually and start from, that particular block and put all this together. So I think the future is bright. We're looking forward to an exponential growth. India is known for quality, affordable medical health care. We're pharmacy of the world. We provide drugs to 170 countries. So I think in terms of our Indian readiness, we are ready. We're now waiting just for the international travel restrictions to go away. And we will look forward to welcoming you, each one of you here at India again. Back. Thank you.
This is absolutely encouraging. You set the floor, sir. The next question is to SCPC Chairman, Mr. Sunil Talati. So what is your take in MVT post, so medical tourism post-pandemic? Do you see this to be a potential service, great service exports for the industry or for the India?
Nice question, I must say. And before that, let me share with you, it's a matter of great pleasure for me to be here in this panel discussion. And you heard while giving my introduction that I'm a chartered accountant. And I have lot many doctors and hospitals as my clients. And what I've learned in my 45 years of practice is that most of the doctors and people with the medical staff, they are too good in their field, but they are zero in accounts and zero in tax. And when it comes to chartered accountant, we are too good in tax and accounts, but we are zero in medical. And you have invited a person who is zero in medical to share my views on this. But let me tell you, as a chairman of SCPC, I had great exposure and experience in 12 champion services, which is being focused by SCPC across the country, with a full and focused attention that in all these 12 champion services, exports must be increased by leaps and bounds, particularly after Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi has taken over. So if you want to have my views with regard to the question asked, let me share with you both on health and wealth, because we have been told right from school that health is wealth. So let me share the details of wealth as well as how it relates to the health. The total medical tourism in the world was estimated to $45 billion, for the year 2021. That was the estimate of the WHO. And 1.50 crore, that is 150 billion people taking advantage of medical tourism and medical travel to various countries from one country to another country for better medical treatment and appropriate medical attention. Well, when it comes to India, the sector was expected to grow at a compounding rate of 21%. And in many champion surveys I will share with you, we have really achieved that 20% growth target. So if we put this target of government and of SEPC and of FICCI and other medical people, that yes, medical will grow at 20% per annum, and up to 25, 27, then India cannot be an exception to develop further in this. And if it is to be treated by number of international patients, India had 0.4 million only in 2016, which increased to 0.7 million in 2019. And estimated market for 2019 was 6 billion in the world and 10 million in India. Estimate suggested that USD $9 billion was the business in 2020 before the pandemic. And pandemic is really badly hit so far as the outside patients are concerned, MVT is concerned. But this year in 2022 itself, our target is in MVT is to grow to 13 million. So from 4.4 million to 0.7 million to $13 billion business in international market patients getting in India. Therefore, healthcare and MVT, we really are very positive and results are shown. More than that, not only FICCI and as you mentioned, FHWA are other playing very important roles. But the happy news for all of you to learn as you are coming from various countries, representing some of the government also, that government and ministry are very positive. They have designated and appointed special secretariats and bureaucrats to see that they really produce the results and give all and extend all the possible facilities and encouragement. So let me conclude with saying, yes, as Praveenji mentioned, there is a good potential in MVT and very good future market for medical business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You know why, now you understand why we invited you. We know the numbers. You can't, I mean, we don't know numbers as good as you. So you correctly pointed out what is the growth potential of the country. The next question is to friend Mr. David Boucher. Sir, service excellence is the need of the hour across the globe. And you've been in Thailand and India both. What do you feel about India's clinical outcome, service excellence, and the cost with respect to our cost? So are we compromising on our, or do you want us to, improve on our service? What do you suggest?
A great question. Thank you for that. I think it depends on the specific hospital and organization, right? So, it has been a difficult time. The last 2 years have been really pretty difficult with international, we talk about travel restrictions. Right now, there's still an announced mandatory 7-day quarantine in Kerala. I know that's hurting there in Karnataka as well. So I know that's hurting some of our patient flow. But with that, of course, with the loss of patient revenue, we tend to have to right-size staff along the way. And so I think I'm very bullish on the market, on the sector. I think your estimates might be a little bit conservative, actually. With all
that's encouraging.
No, I do. We have found that there's huge pent-up demand, and as soon as we can, we meaning specifically in Kerala and in Kochi, if we can eliminate the 7-day quarantine, we know we've got a steady stream of patients queued up. So, that's really important. We have to ramp up our service. So to answer your question, we need to get, I continue to remind myself that it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow, right? So we've got to get faster. We're doing a lot in our hospitals in India with the whole service journey, from eye contact to name badges to service recovery. We've implemented a program so when something does go south, our staff can stand there and they don't have to look at their shoes. They can actually offer something in return to the customer. So, it's just the journey, and we just have to keep plugging away. So.
Wow. Again, thanks, David, for this wonderful answer. I know how you've changed or how you've improved the service excellence at Esther also. We've met there. Next question is to Major Louis Tom. With your experience in the various industry post-pandemic, what is the major change in foreign patients requirement that you see?
Thank you so much. First of all, good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for coming from all different parts of the world to come and attend a session like this. I would like to compliment the organizers for putting together such a wonderful gathering over here to promote medical tourism into India and from various parts of the world, including other countries too. As pointed out by my dear colleagues over here, COVID has changed a lot of mindset, but the change has been, I would say, growing. We are in the process of getting adapted to COVID now. COVID is here to stay. It'll be there for the next few years. So it has opened up a lot of avenues. I was just hearing about Ayush, where Ayurveda is now considered as a very good rehab as an alternative medicine. Many of my hospitals here, I take care of the VPS Healthcare, which is the largest healthcare provider in UAE. We have more than 30 hospitals here. And I also represent Response Plus Holdings, which is into various other service lines for medical as such, including training, including emergency medicals, etc., etc. And we are also now getting into Medivac. We're getting into a joint venture for a Medivac operation, which will also help my dear colleagues over here to get patients and transfer patients from various parts of the world into India, as well as UAE and many other countries, which is promoting medical tourism. Recently, there was a very good forum that was organized by the government of India with the government of UAE to look into health cooperation, specifically from Africa and into Africa as such. The Honorable Ambassador, Excellency Sanjay, was there, and he has given us full support. We are forming a committee wherein we are trying to ensure that we make it more comfortable for people traveling, especially from African countries, to come into India, to come into UAE, to come into various other countries for medical tourism purposes as such. Yeah, so the environment has changed over the last couple of years, but as pointed out by you, there's a huge bottleneck. The people are waiting to travel. My colleague here, Rahul, who heads my medical tourism, he's a hardcore medical tourism professional. He was, in fact, last year, we even got a aircraft full of people from on a chartered flight from Nigeria to come into UAE and get treated over there. So that was, again, thinking out of the box, a lot of things. Even during the pandemic time last year, Rahul was able to get around 1,000 patients into UAE itself, into healthcare. Yeah, that's volumes are there, and there are a lot of people waiting to get tertiary care, high-end treatment, especially from India, which is waiting. Unfortunately, the Omicron wave came in, but it's settling down. The news is very encouraging the last few days. And inshallah, everything goes well, we should be able to start the medical tourism back into India in a big way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I move forward to the next question, I would want to welcome Mr. Dalip Chopra, President of Foundation of Healthcare and Wellness Promotion here. Thank you, sir. Welcome here. As you were discussing for Africa, I would ask a question to Mama. Lydia, India has always assisted Africans for their life-saving treatment. And there are many who are coming to set up some small centers in Africa from India. What do you think, for how long India would be a tertiary and quaternary care hub for the world, and especially for Africa?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. As you said, really, India has been a preferred destination for all the health problems from my country. I can talk for Uganda. And it has been that for the good diagnostics and all the medical treatment that they receive there. Over the years, we've been sending a number of patients for diagnostics. But I think the pandemic was an eye-opener that maybe, yes, we always go to India for specialized treatment, But the Indian hospitals should think about Africa and setting up some good centers whereby many patients can be treated, because the few who can travel are the ones who are really privileged with a lot of money. And there are those, a number of others who cannot afford, but they can afford within the country and they would be able to attend to these centers. So if any of the hospitals would be interested in coming, for example, to Uganda and set up a very good diagnostic center, I think that would be a very good idea, and we are there to cooperate. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lydia. Sandeep ji, question to you. You have a great experience in travel, insurance, investment, and also health tourism, especially from Europe. Do you think Europeans would want to travel to India for some treatment? If yes, what it would be? And no, what is it needed to ensure Europeans look at us for some treatment?
You had the toughest one for me. Yeah.
I don't think it is tough for you.
So no, it's a very interesting. There is no right way to answer. At this point in time, if you look at the European infrastructure, I do not think that in the near future we will have a lot of Europeans travel to India for medical treatment per se. But when you travel across Europe, you do meet so many people who come to India for a spiritual connection, who come to India for a retreat, who come to India for getting certain preventive. So I think that's where we can start from the Ayurveda standpoint, from a prevention standpoint, then getting to a diagnostic and a genetic prevention aspect. So we need to build this over, let's say, a generation. I have a lot of friends who travel to India every year for a detox. They go down to yes. So they go down and stay there and they swear by it. And then eventually they get involved into a whole lot of other activities. You know, this one friend of mine, he's now supporting a temple cause. So he's supporting kids, he's supporting a temple, and he goes there every year. So I think that's where we need to start developing that particular confidence. And then slowly, maybe at some point in time, we have a issue where we are starting to treat surpluses. Because listen, given the fact that Europe itself has great infrastructure,
Yeah.
And they treat their patients, their own citizens, it's great priority. The only way we're looking at UK at some point is on a surplus basis where we treat some of those patients. So I think there is still hope at some point for some very key surgeries, some very key treatments where we can develop those technologies and we can actually, those technologies can help patients. But this has to get built over maybe a few years. But I think we can do very well with prevention. We can do very well with genetics. We can do very well with all the food allergies and everything. So all of those areas, I think we can do very well for now.
Great. This industry needs to have patients from Europe. So we would change whatever you want to. But my friend.
I just have one suggestion there. That with NHS, the main ask is that they have this embargo of not more than 3 hours. So that needs to go away. That would actually encourage, because their NHS is also getting, overwhelmed with the patients. So I think that's our ask for the UK government as a part of our FTA.
Yeah.
That's a policy related to that.
That's right.
I didn't want to bring that up, but that's a key. That's a key aspect that is currently that needs to get addressed at a very different level. But yes, you absolutely understand the situation where it is.
We've been waiting for NHS, right? All right, my friend. Vinay Bhai, as an Indian company, Indian medical tourism company, assisting patients from around the world and having lots of challenges in the last 2 years, how did you manage during these difficult times? And what opportunities you seized? Let us know. I want to know.
So we primarily for the last 2 years, actually, positive has been the biggest taboo word. And the biggest challenge has to stay positive. So that's how we've survived and that's how it has been for us. Most of us in the MVT company sides, primarily we were out of business for more than a year. And though the hospitals were pretty overwhelmed with the numbers growing in India and they were doing pretty well, but most of us were out of business. So it's been a very challenging time.
Yeah.
Keeping ourselves motivated, keeping colleagues motivated, keeping the teams motivated, that has been the biggest challenge. But we've been able to come out of that as an industry and as all thanks to each other, we've been supporting each other.
Thanks to Salib sir for that.
Absolutely. When we talk about Chinon specifically, so we have offices in about 13 countries. So our biggest challenge was to how do we continue operations in all these 13 countries with no finances, no revenue coming in, but we somehow managed, and that helped us continue and maintain relations with our patients and build up the pipelines. And as and when the flights were available, we managed getting patients to India. And fortunately, I mean, since we managed, we continued all the operations. So the bounce back for us was much faster.
Yeah.
So in fact, as we speak today, our numbers as Chinon are better than the pre-pandemic numbers actually. So that has been the way it is for us. And primarily the other way, how we countered it as an industry is that we maintained our relations and grew relations with our overseas partners. And our partners from 19 countries sitting over here is testimony to the fact that we have been able to do it very well. We're sitting in a foreign destination, talking about India as a destination, working together.
We can't thank enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all our global friends for being here and supporting India. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinay. Major Lewis, what do you advise hospital and MVT company to have one major change for them to cope up with this possible high growth industry?
Thank you so much once again. Hospitals per se, since I work with hospitals, I run hospitals. During this particular time, one of the main areas where we felt that we could get business during the COVID time, especially, was the rehab. A lot of COVID patients, as you all are aware, need to undergo COVID rehab for getting back to their normal life, especially the people who had to undergo intubation and were critical and were able to come out of it. Majority of them have to undergo rehab. So I see a huge potential there where all of you here should look at rehab as one of the areas. And for rehab, again, I would encourage the hospitals and the healthcare providers from India to focus more on Ayush, on Ayurveda, which is, again, worldwide recognized right now for rehab as such. So things will definitely improve, as I mentioned a little while back. Maybe it'll take another few months or maybe a year for us to get critical, good surgical cases back into India once the pandemic settles down. But in the meantime, I would encourage to brief your healthcare providers whom you are working with, the hospitals that you're working with, to start rehab as one of the main offerings as such in the times to come. We have a hospital there in Cochin, the VPS Lakeshore Hospital. It's a very large tertiary care hospital, which is now into rehab in a very big way for international patients. So we are getting patients into Kerala, into India, into VPS Healthcare for rehab specifically. And that can be further developed into getting more cases and encouraging them to get more treatments inside the same hospital as such. So that's my way forward.
Thank you. This is going to be the major point for my friend and industry colleague in the next session, which is going to take rising role of technology and alternative medicine. So, sir, this is going to help you. Next question is to Mr. David again. Mr. David, we would like to know from you one biggest challenge and opportunity post-pandemic for medical value travel. One challenge and one biggest opportunity.
What was the second?
So I'm saying, what would you...
The challenge, what was the second thing?
Opportunity. The one challenge and one opportunity biggest for medical travel
Sure. Well, I think one of the biggest challenge still is travel and all the logistics it takes from getting to point A to point B. It's just, again, I mentioned last night, I live 2 weeks every month here in Dubai and the other 2 weeks in Kochi. Excuse me. And when I left last month, I had 4 COVID tests within 48 hours just to play by the rules. It's ridiculous.
Thank you for sharing the experience.
Yes, I was just on, so I was, when I landed in, here in Dubai, I'm racing to get through the COVID and one guy said, you're in a hurry. A guy that was on my plane. I said, I'm about ready to set a personal best. I 4 tests within 48 is going on my Facebook page. So I think that's still one of the biggest challenges. I think it's way overblown. And I've been in public health now for just as my 44th year. I think one of the best things that came out of COVID and everything else is really, you mentioned the next session, is really the integration of not only telemedicine, but telehealth, wearables. It has first at Bumrungrad, Thailand was the first country outside of China to have a positive COVID. So I've been living this nightmare since January 12th of 2020. But, we did the same thing here in Kochi and in Dubai as well. So, going to patients' homes and offices to get samples, delivering meds, on and on. And so that's along with telemedicine and everything else. And I think if the pandemic has taught any of us anything, at least I can say this as an American, is that really our best care that we have is in our own hands, right? We're encouraged through telemedicine to contact a certain provider, to take our, get home monitoring, do a pulse ox, get a home blood pressure, do a home hemoglobin A1C, and on and on and on. And so I think that's a good thing. I think it's really, I think, forced a lot of people worldwide to take more of their own health into their own hands and take responsibility for it. So.
Great. So again, technology plays the role. All right. Lydia, what is the major demand change for Africans post-pandemic? You could speak for Ugandans or Kenyans or even East Africans. And how do you advise us as a country to fulfill that demand?
Of course, the major demand, as usual, has been the quality care that patients can get within Uganda because of COVID. And he talked about the COVID tests where you have to test so much when you're going to travel. Some of them really, it's a very big challenge. And if they can have at least the basic that can be there, I would suggest maybe a collection center whereby all patients are checked, are diagnosed with their problems, and then referred to particular centers in India where they want to be. At least if it is identified within Uganda and you know that all patients go here, all the diagnostics are done, the telemedicine is on, we are communicating with doctors in India, and then they are referred to different centers where they're going to be treated. I think that will be very good for us. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Sandeep ji, as an investor from angel or VC perspective, as you are also a part of the investment group, industry is getting due traction in the eyes of angels and VC recently. What should we more focus in the next 5 years just to make it more scalable? Or, it's not about the valuation, but it's about more scalability that we could create in, get rope into the industry. What's your advice? What's your take?
Sure have the right questions for me. So, listen, it's, see, being an Indian and living outside, you're always conflicted in 2 different directions. And I'm sure you experienced this at some point in time. You're able to look at all of these organizations from an outsider's perspective, but at heart, you're very Indian. We are as proud or rather more proud than anybody else probably in the group. And that's where the challenge is. The organizations that we look at in India right now, the young ones, their integration into an international ecosystem from a delivery perspective, I think that's pretty much the biggest challenge. We as Indians, we love a little bit of jugaad. We love a little bit of shortcuts. And we are saying, okay, you know what? Let's get the thing done for now. and not worry about later. When you step outside, I'm not sure how American David is now left, with your 2 weeks into India, and I'm sure you're also figuring out some way to get your 2 of those 4 PCRs done on the side.
He was just last night explaining us how he's taking tuk-tuks in India. So he's more of Indian now.
Oh, jeez. Next 26 January, I'm going to recommend you for being on the Brave Kids one, you know. but that's what I'm trying to come to is that everybody does not understand or integrate as well. There are requirements. There are people who understand certain processes. There are some people who understand certain global expectations that an organization needs to meet. A lot of places where the Indian organizations don't come up to that level is, you know, yes, we provide the best value for money, or we are cheap. And that's a market. If we need to, in the next 5-7 years, get to the next level, I think that's where we need to learn how to rewire our organizations to deliver at a global level. Let's not worry about the cost right now. Anybody pays for a great service. Anybody pays for the predictability. I think that's where we as an Indian organizations need to get to. And that's where we will then be the biggest global power. We will not worry about the fact that Europe, Finland, Switzerland provide great healthcare. We will still have our own organizations. We will have our own institutions, and we'll be able to attract people because they say, okay, you know what, you're going to get there. You know, you're going to get treated very well. You're going to have a post care, which is going to be fantastic. And you will come back absolutely healthy. So I think that's where the organizations need to start focusing, start to work. If they need to get to the next level, that's where I think the focus should be.
It's easy for you, I see. All right. I think Mr. Money or organizers, all the FHWP team, if the chairs are not there, we need to ensure we have enough space for the delegates. Just Mr. Abik, Mr. Dhruv, just have a look at it. All right. Next, Mr. Vinay, which market could be seen as biggest opportunity for Indian medical value travel? And what is the biggest threat, again, to Indian MVT post-pandemic as a country? Which country, so we know what Afghanistan has happened. So which country do you think has the biggest potential and a new market for us?
So hereby primarily when we talk about the numbers in India, the biggest markets for us have been Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Iraq, Uzbekistan, Kenya. Primarily when we talk about Bangladesh, it's the biggest market for India, but it is also the biggest market for Thailand.
Yeah.
That is something that we should not forget.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Yeah.
So all the countries who sending patients to India, the more affordable class are still traveling to Thailand, Singapore of the world, right? For us, I think we are affordable. Yes, we have the best value for money, no two ways about it. But it is very important to change the narrative now.
Yes.
The narrative should not be that India is affordable. Of course, we are affordable and we'll remain affordable compared to anything.
Yeah.
But we need to change the narrative that we are a destination of clinical excellence.
Yes.
And start attracting people from markets which are not primarily draining into India at this point of time. We have to increase the pie from within the countries who are coming to India, start targeting the elite from those countries, and more importantly, increase the global pie. Reach out to the Americas, to the Europes, and let them know that we are ready to service them and meet their expectations. The very idea of us sitting over here now together is to give a message to the world that India is open and India is ready, and India is ready to welcome all patients from all across the globe.
Yes.
Sooner or later, the flights will resume. It's not that patients are not coming. In fact,
we are getting patients.
Patients are finding their way to India, which is a very, very encouraging thing for us. I mean, during the pandemic, we have had patients traveling from West Indies, traveling all across the globe, from Indonesia to Doha to Qatar, and then to India, whatever long journeys, traveling 48 hours plus to reach India, because that is what India offers. So if we change the narrative and we think about increasing the
You-
group by, we'll
You've spoken from our heart, it seems. All yours. Can somebody, yeah. Mr. Rajiv is a VP at Foundation of Healthcare and Wellness.
Hi,
Promotion.
everyone.
Yeah.
So Praveen, this question to you actually. So when I saying we need to change the narrative for India for the excellence and services of healthcare, the biggest problem we are facing as a MVT companies, the visas. Nigeria was one of the biggest market for us 10 years ago. I left going to Nigeria in 2015. Reason? If a Nigerian has to come to India, they need to wait for at least 3 months to get the visa. Similarly, problem is happening in Uzbekistan. Minimum waiting period is at least 4 weeks or 6 weeks. They're not getting, yes, at this time. So when Turkey is open, Thailand is open, despite of the COVID numbers, despite of the problems, in India, all this destination, whether it's Bangladesh, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, Nepal, any patient who needs to come to India for visa, it's a waiting of 4 to 6 weeks. COVID test, medical reports, mail from the hospital, confirmations. Post that, if they're lucky, they will get a visa. This is the problem which we are facing, and I really want you to please help us to take our voice to the government, and they should, first of all, they should consider MVT as an industry. The kind of patients, the kind of foreign currency we are bringing into the country, and the support is zero. So
Before you answer that, it is, so you bring about a fantastic point. Add to this, that the Indian government, and I know the Indian Army doctors are based in the consulate of India in Uzbekistan, offering free medical treatment and promoting that India has got great doctors. It is a great destination. But when somebody needs to get into the actual act of getting to India,
So I know there are certain problems and that have all happened because of the current COVID situation. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
We know we've been having certain numbers which have been, coming from each of these countries. The visa restrictions weren't so bad. And of course, yes, on reciprocity also, there are a lot of reciprocal engagements which happen between the countries at the external affairs level. So when we talk about reciprocity, Nigeria was charging an X amount, and that was a huge problem earlier.
Yes. Yes.
That Nigerian government used to charge Indians an X amount as a visa fee,
Yes.
and we were charging
Pretty
equal
less.
amount.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of voice from the industry that if we can talk about this, and we went to the government, and on reciprocity, basis again, that visa fees was brought down.
Yes.
So I understand the current situation and problem, and what Tom also mentioned about. We are also trying to, engage with Government of India, and there's been what he spoke about. There's been a closed working group, and that has all happened because Honorable Minister Mansukh Mandaviya ji was here in December to address the India Global Business Forum. FICCI and Government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, along with Government of UAE, we've all got together. We've had first working group meeting. That's also looking at institutional engagement with African countries.
Lovely.
And that institutional engagement is largely talking about how we can also, at the government level, that is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of External Affairs, and I must thank Ambassador Sanjay Sudhir, who is India's ambassador to UAE, and also the Consul General, Dr. Aman Puri. They've had, driven it with the UAE government, and there is a very, close-knit working group that is going to work on that. We've had a first preliminary meeting of that group post the minister's visit, and we're likely to have that second round of meeting again, wherein we're going to identify even the institutional engagement with those countries. So there is a kind of, assurance that we want to give to the Nigerian government or the Kenyan government or the government of Uganda that India is not just looking at inviting patients,
Yes.
but
Yes.
we're also looking at setting up certain clinical excellence centers. We're also looking at, working together on capacity building,
Right.
looking at, development of healthcare linkages between the countries. So all that is underway. I think COVID just, played a spoil sport. And yes, without being positive, to remain positive is a tough task. But yes, I do understand. I will be happy to take this up with Government of India. If there are certain cases like this, please do let us know about it. We will drive it up with both external affairs and the health and family welfare. But we are on job and we understand the pain points. Absolutely.
You're not on the jobs, you're always on the toes for us. So I must applaud for you. Right. This was my question again to you, sir, but I think you've answered largely on that. So I'll come back to you later on. Sunil, sir, what does SCPC would plan to ensure global partners are more attracted to take Indian services? And what would you advise industry players sitting here to achieve global leadership position as in service export, as a SCPC? What do you think?
I mean, if not advice, my suggestion and my
Yeah.
remarks. Let me share my personal experience so that you will appreciate it more with regard to what India was in medical treatment and medical tourism, what India is and what India will be after 5 or 10 years. I'm just talking of 20, 25 years before, when even there was a smallest injury, even if your nail is removed. I am from Ahmedabad, capital of Gujarat, Gandhinagar, from Narendra Modi is. So it used to be called Manchester of India. So it's a good city. But even then, even if a nail is removed or some injury is there, I would say, go to Mumbai. You will get the best treatment there. And those who can afford, we were saying, don't get treatment in Ahmedabad. That was the time just 20, 25 years before. And today, let me tell you, one of the biggest hospital in the world doing maximum knee replacements is in Ahmedabad. So that's the progress we have made in Ahmedabad in the last 10, 15 years. Earlier, there used to be hospitals like clinics, and you don't feel like going there. Maybe the cleanliness, the hygiene, the sophistication, which you see in other countries was missing. But now I can tell you, if you are taken to a hospital blindfolded, and then you enter the hospital, you will not know whether you're in India or whether you're in the US or in UK. That beautiful, nicely decorated, clean hygiene. That's the first difference, that we have realized the importance of giving best facilities, right from building, right from machineries, and the best of the doctors. So I give main 3 points with regard to the treatment, medical treatment. One, you must have best advanced facilities.
Yes.
And I know when my sister and my brother-in-law, they are in USA since last 45 years. And my brother is an MRI expert. And he just showed me, I'm talking of 30, 40 years before, that what MRI machine is. And he got my brain checked, scanned, and I was very happy. Everything was fine in my brain. But I'm telling you, I was surprised. Oh my God, what kind of machine? And now we have MRI machines in almost every next hospital in Ahmedabad, for that matter in India, giving best of the results, best of the treatment. So India is now equipped with really good, nice, latest hospitals and appropriate equipments and the technical staff that is required. That's point one. Point two, skilled doctors. Yes, yesterday they were mentioning so many doctors are there coming from Kerala to Dubai and other places. Or for that matter, across the world, wherever you go in one of the best hospitals, one of the topmost doctors, surgeon or person would be India, from India. As I said, my brother-in-law is head of the MRI department in Arkansas, Little Rock. And my sister is also a doctor. She's considered one of the best anesthetists in the Little Rock. So that's what important is, that Indian doctors are doing best everywhere. When it comes to USA, they are in a different position. Where in India, they were hitherto discounted, but now they are valued at appropriate position and price. Third is the affordability. I would say India is cheap, but India is one where any kind of patients of any kind of treatment, he can reasonably afford to. Again, let me give the example of this. My own sister, if she had to do some treatment on her one tooth, maybe RCT or CAP, the amount that she will pay in USA, in less than that amount in India, you can do for all your 32 teeth. That's the difference of price. And if not better, of the same quality and standard. So that's the very important thing that you should all appreciate. India is really doing progress. Next is paramedical staff, nurses. Again, if you ask me, as it was mentioned yesterday in Esther Hospital, one of the finest and best nurses come from India. But let me tell you the difference in a lighter way. We don't have nurses as you have in USA and UK, all white, fair skin, blonde, golden hair, all having the requirement of an air hostess, 36, 20, 36, 24, 36. We don't have that kind of nurses. Maybe the Keralian nurses are 24, 36, 39. But let me tell you, the way they treat the patient, they pamper, and when they put the hand on the patient feel it is either a mother's hand or a sister's hand.
Yes.
And we don't call our nurses, we call them sisters. That's the feeling, that's the difference of the treatment in India by nurses. So India is progressing to a great extent when it comes to paramedical staff. And lastly, as I said, for every person, be a billionaire, millionaire, reasonably rich, or semi-middle class, he would always calculate the cost. Even particularly when accountants are there, we are doubly costing it. But it does matter. And as I said, don't feel India is cheap, but India is very affordable, very reasonable, and at the same time, giving you world-class treatment. So as an SCPC, out of 12 champion services I mentioned, besides, as you all know, you must be reading in the newspapers, India is #1 when it comes to software.
Yeah.
Best of the software people, be it Apple, be it Google, be it Tesla, the topmost people are always Indian. And after that export of software, other services, we are putting medical in top 3. When I say we, means SCPC, and when I say SCPC, it means Government of India. Yeah. Government is keen to see that, yes, our export should increase from existing $5.7 billion to $10 trillion by 2030. Wow. And one of the major contributor would be medical tourism and medical treatment. And Great. That's what we are looking at. And we are confident that the way the government is making progress, it would be in a position to do that. So I would say thank you so much for coming today in Dubai. But I welcome you on behalf of India, on behalf of Indian government, on behalf of FICCI, on behalf of FHWA, and on behalf of all doctors and nurses of India to send your patients to India, and they will always remain obliged and grateful to you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I don't know, but I might have a first time goosebumps in Indian medical tourism meeting. So this is commendable, and you made it very lighter on a light note. Thank you so much. And we would like to see the government support to, take us, handhold us. FICCI is already there to support us, to take from this target that you're putting in front of us, and we'll be there to achieve it. Thank you very much. Again, on Mr. Mittal, you have been and are also contributing to policy decision with respect to Indian MVT. And what we want to see is post-pandemic, what has changed. You were talking about Nigeria and all that. I think this is all pre-pandemic. What do you think on the post-pandemic, you and FICCI has been advising, which not only is positive for industry and our partners around the world, because the partners are here. As Lydia said, they want to see some centers sitting up there. What are the industry decisions or policy decisions that you're advising to the government? That would be happy. We would be happy to hear that.
First of all, I think the very first and foremost we've been all talking about, and it's just a repetition, is that the travel curbs need to be eased so that the access to healthcare in India for foreign patient becomes accessible and they're able to travel to our country. The second piece is that we need to work a very big way on our Ayurveda, which is our strength. So for Ayush, very important pieces, and I must also share that Ayush Export Promotion Council has been formed by Government of India.
Yes.
And again, FICCI was tasked with the responsibility of putting this council together. We have shouldered it, and I have my colleague Aparna here in this room, if she's around. she's the one who's driven it. And we today have got Ayush Export Promotion Council registered. Secretary Ayush has himself driven it. Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha, he's been instrumental in driving it. So our next step to Government of India is that we need to have Ayurveda being recognized as the system of medicine,
Lovely. Yes.
with various countries. So that brings in the second element of our request to Government of India as a policy matter. The third element that I would suggest is that we need to work on institutional engagement with various countries. When the governments, they work together, they come together and sign an institutional engagement, I think that gives a lot of confidence amongst the private sector that, well, for the foreign countries, that their patients would be taken care of, and for our own Indian hospitals, that there is a continuous, seamless, inflow of patients to the countries. And that can happen, of course, not just about institutional engagement, but with so much of, clinical trials being happening in our country, confidence, clinical excellence. So I think all this together creates that and complete ecosystem. So as first and foremost, the first thing is, of course, which I talked about, ease of travel curbs, recognizing Ayush with various other countries, and of course, institutional engagement with country to country level engagement. I think that would set the tone and bring us all back on track.
Lovely.
From where.
So, by the way, any industry colleague who joined us later, Mr. Mittal just announced that some draft policy has been formed for medical value and wellness travel just yesterday. So we're going to catch hold of him and get out of the policy documents. How is it going to be? And just as I said earlier, we've got elite delegates here. All the foreign delegates, we would want to ask if you have any questions to ask this delegate. A small question and a minute to answer for the delegate, the speakers. Any questions that you may have? Dhruv sir, can you come here? Anybody from the organizers? Just take one mic and see who's, Avik sir or Dhruv sir, or whoever it is. Just give one mic to any foreign delegate who would have any questions. You can raise the hand, the mic would come to you very soon. When you don't ask a question, we feel that either you've understood all or you don't have understood anything. So there's first question. Oh, that too from the back. Backbenchers are listening?
Too much, very much. It's a very excellent talk.
Right.
And I realized what a potential medical value has. And thanks a lot. My particular question here is especially to the major. I know a lot of people are now getting into portability devices, diagnostics, so that it can be placed elsewhere in the countries, right? In developing countries. How is that going to affect the medical tourism? Because it's like we are fighting each other. The people who wants to establish world-class diagnostic centers in the developing countries with all the portable devices, that will definitely curb or at least reduce the market for the transportations, right? How do you tackle that problem?
Thank you so much for the question. As mentioned by Mr. Mittal a little while back, technology will definitely be a spoiler for medical tourism. But the fact remains that you cannot do a surgery virtually. You can consult virtually. You can monitor and advise virtually. But for actual surgeries and for treatment, you need to travel. The countries like in Africa, like what Ms. Lydia was mentioning, that they are wanting people to come and set up hospitals, diagnostics in African countries and other developing countries as such. It will happen in times to come. Like for example, we have already established one hospital in Liberia, and we are in the process of setting up a very, very large tertiary care hospital in Addis Ababa right now.
Oh, lovely.
So it will definitely, the developing countries will definitely get developed over the period of time. But expertise in doing tertiary care, very, very complicated surgeries, will still be traveling and will be going. And I was just thinking a little while back that packaging is important.
Yeah.
Packaging is important. One of the reasons why UAE over the last few years has now become a country where medical tourism is coming in very effectively is we are packaging our offerings to the patients very well. Yeah, we are treating them as tourists.
Yeah, bundling them.
We are bundling them. We treat the bystander as important as what the patient himself is or herself is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we take care of their stay. We take care of their traveling around, sightseeing.
In fact, they are the decision makers.
They are the decision makers. So I would say the bundling and creating an environment will always be helpful for us in the times to come for having patients travel from one country to the other for better standard of treatment. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
I
Yeah,
can just
yeah,
add
you can add definitely, sir.
See, technology will play a role of enabler. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand the point of care devices which you're talking about. And this is how during the pandemic time also, we've been able to consult patients through telemedicine, through advanced diagnostic technologies. I think technology will be an enabler. We all survived in this entire COVID duration of 2 years with work from home environment. We were never used to operating out of those single laptop small boxes, but we did. But again, the testimony is that today you have 70 people in this room.
More than that, sir.
Right? So yeah, more than that, we're getting more chairs. So my only point is that technology will always be an enabler. And let's consider it as an enabler to be able to reach a goal. And that's what even when Madam was talking about, setting up these kind of small centers, providing healthcare right to the doorstep will only create better infrastructure and enable people to have those simple procedures done in their home countries. And they're looking at advanced treatments. And that's where even Ayush comes into factor, experiencing Ayurveda. So what I'm saying is that it is going to act as an enabler, and I always take it as an enabler.
Great. On the first session itself, we are running late. Only one more question from a foreign delegate. One foreign delegate who has a question. Mr. Ali Nu has a question. First, fastest finger first.
Yeah, Ali Nuh from Bahrain. My question about you are as a provider. What's your strategy to market your country and hospitals in your country, specifically from the point of collaboration? Either collaboration with facilitators to other hospitals in the home destination. Thank you.
Vinay bhai, would you want to take it up?
So
Keep it
when
short.
we talking about collaboration between India and our source markets, it's not only about bringing patients to India. It's a lot of other things. There's skills development where we're more than happy to, train doctors from your countries, bring them to India and train them. Not only doctors, paramedical staff.
Yeah.
On-site surgeries is something which is picking up pretty well. So we are very happy to bring our Indian doctors to your countries if the infrastructure and the legal permissions allow to come and operate over there, right? So with technology being an enabler, actually the cost of acquisition of business has become cheaper, if you ask me. We were going and doing physical OPDs, which was requiring a lot of capital. Now everything is happening digitally.
Yeah.
And you can almost have OPDs going every day. So those kind of things. So these kind of engagements, primarily in terms of skills development, investment is not only financial, investment is also through, primarily the kind of time and effort that we put in. So India as a destination, we're more than happy to invest in our source markets, not in terms of finances, as well, but more in terms of collaboration, working together, helping you grow and you help us grow.
Very apt.
If I can add from SCPC point of view, what has really happened in India is that every single hospital is now developing its own branch and credibility. For example, Apollo, it's a big name in India. Vedanta, it's a big name in India. Esther, it's a big name. When it comes to Gujarat, Kedila, the way they started, now they have 7 hospitals across the state. So each state and in certain places, certain regions, they are specializing in their own name, own brand. And once you enter that, now I think there are 3 hospitals which has come, one for eye, one for ENT, and
Yes.
I'm not able to collect the name.
Yeah.
But across the country, they have 60, 70 branches. And anything on eye, the doctor would say, go there.
Yes.
So that's the credentials they have developed. So I see that foreign countries would be inviting our doctors for collaboration rather than India waiting for someone to do collaboration in India. That's how I look at it.
Great. So one last question. She's been waving hands for a couple of minutes. Very small question. Must be very small answer. All right. Oh, please. Mr. Chopra or Mr. Taneja? Rajiv.
Yes. So good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Ms. Vidot. I'm proud here, though I'm representing Seychelles, but I'm very privileged to stand up to talk on behalf of the African countries.
Please.
Little brief, like I've been 13 years in India and connecting with all the African countries. And I'm very proud of what Ms. So was talking about, the visa, sir. That has been a real headache for the patient. I do understand some of the issues that is happening within the countries or the government, but when it comes into terms of patient referrals on a medical visa, I think that should be taken into more account and consideration, because what I have noticed and encountered, I'm a nurse by profession also. It's really sad when you hear a patient passed away or to any reason, he or she could not fly for the treatment when he has the money to come and get cured or save his or her life, and he just passed off in the country. So I'm advocating for the patient, please, if that can be done into consideration and affordability for the patient, please. Thank
Great.
you.
Just to add on that, if I may, there are over 100 countries where Indian government has done e-visas. There are some countries which Mr. Rajiv also said. There's an e-medical visa which has been issued. Patient don't have to go even to the embassy, and even Uganda is one of them. You just apply it on the 2nd day or 3rd day, you get a visa. So yes, we are a little far from reaching out to all the countries. Mr. Mittal is listening to you, and you've made to the right person. So it will reach to the right team.
Anyway, just to give a comment in regards of that e-visa.
Yeah.
Even to that, you said just go online and do whatever, but still they are encountering a lot of difficulties on
So that
because those complaints are coming up to me. So I'm very proud I got the privilege.
No,
to
absolutely.
voice out
We
for
are
the
glad
patient.
to receive your suggestions, and you've put it to the right person.
Okay, thank you. Sure, sir. Thank
That's encouraging. Yeah. So here we've already running late on the first session itself. Before I put an end to the session, there would be a couple of photographs with the speakers here, and I would give this podium to Mr. Mittal to announce something which is very which is his baby, but which is what we are waiting for last 2 years now. So, Mr. Mittal, before the photo, or
No, I'll just take 2 minutes.
yeah, please come, please, welcome. Please.
So for 2 years, we have not had a physical program back home in India. We're planning for Advantage Healthcare India, the 6th edition, from the 2nd to the 4th of November at Chennai. And I invite each one of you to join us on this. Do we move on slides? Do we have some more slides here? Okay. So you all know this is basically a B2B program, and SCPC also is a partner of this program with us on board. This is basically Department of Commerce drives this program, and yes, we started way back in 2015. Next slide. So all these segments are going to be covered in this program. right from hospitals to academia institutions, technology, insurance. Next. This is primarily for Middle East, Africa, CIS, SAARC, Asia, US, and UK. So we cover practically the entire world. We host delegations from these countries. So look forward to your presence there from the 2nd to the 4th of November at Chennai. And I'm sure before that, ma'am, we'll try and put our house in order. Thank you so much.
That's the man's word. Right. I don't know how. I'm pretty sure most of you would have attended one of the Advantage. Mr. Chopra might comment on this. This is one of the biggest event, and we're waiting for it for 2 years now. Right. For the photo session, I would also invite Mr. Ishan Pandita, who is also from FICCI, who is our man to reach to him. So, let Mr. Ishan also join us, please. Without the mask, please. Right. A small break of 10 minutes. It is going to be very small break for 10 minutes. Tea and coffee is on the left side. You could go there, have a tea, coffee, and come back. The next session is going to be sharp 10 minutes. Our Mr. Panchual is going to take it forward. Mr. Abhik Mohitra is going to be the host for the next session. Please ensure that within 10 minutes you are here. All right, thank you.